Hi there, I'm Mac Spainhour and I'm here with Mike Olhman. We're in Henryville, Indiana today at the White Oak Elk Ranch, Rick Davis's farm. And we're doing some things here today, or they are doing some things here today that are, I think, are very great. I think that most of our viewers are going to really like this. But Mike, I'm going to let you talk about it. You're with the Safari Club International.
Right.
And I know that you've been doing this for about 6 years approximately, coming up here. But beyond that, I'm going to let Mike tell you why Safari Club got into this, and then really what you all do here and what a great two-day event this is.
Well, thank you, Mac. I'm president of the Kentuckiana chapter of Safari Club International, and we've been a chapter of Safari Club for about 19 years. And of course, Safari Club International is an international organization dedicated to sportsmen, hunting, and conservation. Our local chapter is heavily involved in all of those aspects, everything from humanitarian aspects. We are the founders and managers of the Kentucky Hunters for the Hungry program, and also support the Indiana Hunters for the Hungry program. We also do what we call a sensory safari. The sensory safari is a program where we have collected large numbers of mounted animals and skins and things like that we've used with the National Federation for the Blind conventions and local things, and actually donated a bunch of these to several unsighted camps, Camp Crescendo over in Kentucky, the Kentucky School for the Blind, where non-sighted people can come in and experience and feel animals and get a sense of size, get a sense of what we're talking about when we're talking about 10-point bucks, and by feeling and so on and so forth. So that's another great way to share the outdoors. Another thing we do that is in our social aspects is recognizing our veterans and our soldiers. We have a program called Outdoorsman Overseas, and it's Operation Outdoorsman Overseas, and each year we locate. Last year it was a Kentucky National Guard unit. The previous year it was actually a unit that was stationed down at Fort Knox, had just come back from Afghanistan. It's an armor unit, and we try to locate some guys local that, because of their military service, didn't get to hunt or fish in the last year and missed out on opportunities. And so last year we were able to locate a group that just came back. It was by Christmas time. Most all the hunting seasons were over, and these guys hadn't been out yet. And so, and plus they were stuck here over the holidays. So we organized a put and take pheasant hunt, and took 18 of them out on a pheasant hunt. We also run in conjunction with that program. Part of our Operation Outdoorsman Overseas is identifying youth, teenage and other youth and spouses even of outdoorsmen who are missing out on the season because their dad or significant other are gone as well. And so we have provided deer hunting opportunities on a one-on-one basis for a variety of those kids and stuff as well. So those are kind of our humanitarian aspects. Of course, we do our hunter safety program and youth apprentice program, which is to mentor kids and inexperienced people into hunting. We, of course, do a lot of this stuff through self-funding. We have one banquet funding per year, and usually try to raise about $35,000. One of the good things with Safari Club in general is that Safari Club allows most of that money, all but 15% of it, stays in the community. We spend that back in this community on conservation projects. Some of our conservation projects included purchasing the lionesses for the Louisville Zoo, because they didn't have any lionesses, and learning about wildlife from around the world is an important part for us as well. So like I say, we're pretty much well-rounded, involved in all the various aspects of hunting and the great outdoors.
And I noticed in these at each one of these stages, it's drilled over and over, even though there's an overlap.
Sure.
It doesn't matter which stage you're at. We just came from the blood trailing, where they have fake blood and they lay it out and go through a scenario, and I thought that was really interesting because I've hunted. I'm 49 now, and I've hunted since I think 10 years old. My dad took me out. We were talking about the old times,
right?
And I've never had anybody teach me blood trailing. That is all self-taught or taught with the guy that's next to me that's an older man, that I'm thinking, okay, you've hunted deer, and when I first hunted, I remember, and I had a brother-in-law that we had to track. So I thought that was really interesting. Troy and I was over there watching that, and the scenarios were set up awesome. And so I noticed, what I like about this is, 10 hours is what you have to have for a hunter education course.
Right.
But I know you're putting in way more hours than that.
Right, we're a 16-hour course.
See, a 16-hour course, so we're already up in that. And you're going over and over and over. And I know what you're talking about, because in the old days in our hunter ed book, we'd have a 5-stage thing. And I can't remember completely the 5-stage. I can remember number 1 was you wanted to shoot your gun constantly. It didn't matter. You remember those people that walk out in the woods and, well, I didn't see a deer today, but I'm going to dust that sparrow. And they thought that was part of it, that they had to shoot. All the way to the stage of what you are right now is you get, and I'm going to speak for you, I'm here, but I bet you get as much enjoyment as watching a newcomer, no matter how old, get their first turkey or their first deer or whatever else that you've helped them harvest.
Oh, more so.
See?
More so.
See?
Even from my own granddaughter, who went through this course, as well as all the instruction I could give her. But, that's the other thing we found, is that parents of kids where the parent is a hunter still have found, my son only absorbs so much of what I tell him.
Right.
He hears it from a stranger.
Yeah.
It has a different weight.
You're right.
And so we have dads and moms that bring their kids out, and they kind of follow them around and shadow them, as we call it, to learn, so that they learn our lingo too, and they see what the kid learned and did, and then when they're off together hunting, they can relate on that level. And their dad knows, he learned it. I don't have to sit there and harp over his shoulder, be sure of this, be sure of that.
Right.
He knows, just remember what you learned in class, son, and that kind of thing. And that kind of level of instruction, and our curriculum's been written out and polished every year. We add a little to it. In 7 years, like I say, we think we've got a pretty good lingo and amount of information. And as you say, by repeating it time and again and interrelating it, we have, in fact, you'll notice on most of our courses we have the younger instructors. We'll have a couple of our other instructor volunteers there cross-training, because we want the guys on our shotgun training, guys that are shotgun specialists, to know what we're teaching on rifle and muzzle loader, so that when they're over there telling the kid, keep both eyes open, Now, this is not rifle. Not just keep both eyes open. Not that what that guy just told you was wrong, but putting it into the bigger picture,
That's right.
And being able to help the kids absorb the great big picture, because the hunting world is diverse and vast. It's not just deer hunting. It's not just small game hunting.
No.
And so, we try to give the kids a sampling and enough cross that they can feel comfortable jumping into that pool with an expectation of at least swimming.
That's right.
Kentuckiana chapter of Safari Club International is kind of a local coin term, not recognized all over the country. But we recognize Kentuckiana. Our members primarily come from, we're open membership, but they primarily come from as far away as Evansville, Lexington, Kentucky. We do have some down around Danville, up into the northern edges of Kentucky, over into Scottsburg, up into Indianapolis. So that's kind of a circle. We do have several members that have moved away. We have some members that used to be here that are now in Texas and have maintained their membership. And we have members in Alaska. So we reach out. But,
Mike, I've always thought of SCI as the place where you go to get your exotic game animals scored. But it's much more than that. But they do still do that.
It is, yes. And we have more members that have not been on a worldwide safari or a specific African or Asian anywhere safari than we do that have. We have a large number that have. What we found is it's a great network. Anyone, whether you're interested in coming in new as a hunter, never been hunting, or whether you're interested in expanding your hunting, we're a group of people that have been there and done that in a large number of venues. And so, yes, it's a great place to come and network and learn, get all that inside information, so that when you decide to branch out, go to Texas on your first out-of-state hunt, go to Colorado, Alaska, or venture overseas into the South Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, New Caledonia, or up into Africa, you feel comfortable that you've got somebody that's pointed you in the right direction.
Well, that's all we have for today. We really appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again next week right here on Indiana Outdoor Adventures.